Hello again. This is Will Luden, your host with Revolution 2.0, a revolution of the heart. With today's episode, Complete Immigration Solution, the one no one wants. And together we are episode 378. And please do subscribe and encourage others to subscribe with you. Anywhere you enjoy listening to podcasts. And now we're on YouTube. You can go there, get your friends to go there and subscribe. Immigration is one of the most important and controversial issues facing our country today. There's a clear, workable, fair, comprehensive solution, but the politicians on both sides of the aisle don't want it. Politicians on both sides of the aisle are more interested in themselves and their party than they are in what's good for the country. And I will tell you why that's the case and what the clear, effective, implementable solution is. That's the subject of today's 10-minute episode. The key to any comprehensive immigration package is having secure borders. We don't have secure borders now, and both parties have been in power from time to time, in complete power, where they have had all three branches of the government, but no secure borders. Why? It's because some of the politicians and their supporters want immigrants to come in without being checked, because most of them will vote for that party. Other politicians and other supporters on the other side of the aisle want them to keep flooding in, so there'll be cheap labor. And we become less the United States of America and more and approaching being the state of America in the United Nations of the world. And I don't want that. Do you? Donald Trump got it right when he said he wanted secure borders, but I think he blew it entirely after that. He said he wanted a wall, emphasized a wall, and then in emphasizing the wall, he said that Mexico would pay for it. Well, first of all, you don't want a wall all the way across. There are some places where a wall would be silly, as in running down the middle of the Rio Grande. And Mexico is never going to pay for it. It was ridiculous on the face of it. And then he said the wall is going to keep out the rapists and murderers. And all that did was give the opposition, who didn't want secure borders, all that did was give the opposition an excuse to say, well, we want secure borders, but we want to have secure borders in a more practical and humane way. And the critics emphasize walls don't work. I mean, if you build a 20-foot wall, a hungry immigrant will put up a 21-foot ladder. Well, that's a pretty silly and self-serving argument. Walls work. Just ask the people in East Berlin who couldn't get out because of the Berlin Wall. They wanted freedom, but the wall stopped them from getting out. In Israel, they built walls to keep suicide bombers from getting in. Walls work. But if you want a secure border, it can be walls in some places. It can be high technology. It can be simple human observation. But a combination of technologies can create a secure border. We don't have to have a debate here or a plan here about exactly how to build the border. Borders have been successful. We can talk to people who have built the borders. We can talk to people who build roads and bridges. We can talk to people in the military who use technology. Put those together and we can have a secure border. The question is not, can we have one and how do we do it? The question is, do we want one? Ronald Reagan tried with his amnesty plan, but he forgot the part about the secure border. All he got was amnesty, and the border and the illegals kept coming in. Presidents from Bush to today have tackled this issue without success. There's a clear and effective solution, and we'll get to that. But why is it being ignored? To get the truth here, we have to ask ourselves, other people, and our politicians, do we want open national borders? we have open borders between the states. And I want to draw some real clear parallels here. We can go from one state to another, and immediately when we're in the new state, we can enjoy all the rights and privileges of that new state. When I moved back to Colorado 13 years ago, the same day that I moved here, less than 24 hours, I had new tags on my car, a new driver's license, and I was registered to vote. If I was eligible, I could have signed up for benefits. I was a full-fledged citizen of the state of Colorado with all the rights and benefits that this state had to offer. Do we want that? Do we want our national borders to act like our state borders? I don't want that. I'm fine with somebody from another state coming to Colorado and becoming a full-fledged citizen with all the rights and privileges. If I want to move to another state, I would expect that as well. But do we want that? Do we want that for the country? And again, I want to say that I do not want to be the state of America in the United Nations of the world. I want to stay as far away from that as possible. But the answer to we have to answer the question. Others have to answer the question. Do we want open borders? If the answer is yes, say it out loud. And here's an example of what somebody would say. The simple truth is, I want open borders. National borders should be no more than state borders. We could stop spinning our wheels about conversations about the effectiveness of walls and who's inclusive, who's more inclusive than other people, and we could do away with words like undocumented and illegal. Everybody would be legal, and we wouldn't have to worry about policies because the policies would be written by the people coming across the border. And we're going to pause here for a definition. Undocumented versus illegal. When I drive my car, I'm required to have with me proof that I have a driver's license, I've registered my car, and I have insurance. If I've qualified for and paid for those things and I don't have the documents with me, silly, and I'm driving around and get pulled over, I'm going to get stopped and I'll have some sort of a ticket that's easy to fix. I would be undocumented. I qualified in all those areas, didn't have the documents, I'm undocumented. If I didn't qualify, if I didn't have a driver's license, didn't pay for it, didn't qualify, didn't have the registration or the insurance, and then I get pulled over, I'm illegal. And the same terms apply. If somebody's here in the United States and they're here legally, they don't have their paperwork and somehow they're coming through customs or whatever, and they're challenged and they don't have it, they're undocumented. Somebody who doesn't have those papers to begin with, they're illegal. But I want to say I don't want open borders, and I don't want us to be that way. But I said I'm going to tell you how we can deal with it. I don't want open borders, but I want a secure, prosperous, welcoming America, an America that can continue to be attractive to and lead the way for the rest of the world. Here's how. I think there's 5 steps. 1, secure the borders. Stop using the term wall. Just say secure borders and use a blend of technology to do it. Number 2, insist, as in insist, that employers use E-Verify prior to hiring. I'm going to read this because it's a little bit complicated, but it makes sense. E-Verify is an internet-based system that compares information entered by the employer from an employee's Form I-9, Employee Eligibility Verification, to records available to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Social Security Administration to confirm employment eligibility. Bottom line is that there be no more illegals being paid under the table and being paid less than market wage. This is something that employers need to do. Here's a big one. 3, use technology to track those who overstay their visas. By most accounts, at least 40% and maybe as much as 50% of those who are, as many as 50% of those who are here illegally have simply overstayed their visas. They came here legally and staying illegally, 40 to 50%. 4, create a path to citizenship for those who are here illegally. Put them behind those who came here legally, who took the time and the trouble and maybe the expense of coming here legally. Put them behind them, but create a path for citizenship. The path to citizenship for the people who are here illegally should not include voting. That's a bridge too far for anyone who snuck in. And yes, this would be amnesty, just like the Reagan amnesty. But with secure borders, you wouldn't have to repeat the amnesty. And repeat amnesty, amnesty after amnesty, is just a painful and dishonest way of having open borders. 5, allow in a generous number of legal immigrants every year based on merit, people we want, and need, people who need to be here, regardless of what they can contribute. And it seems like, it's not critical, but it seems like an 80-20 mix of people we want and people who need to be here, regardless of whether they can make a big contribution. About 80-20 is right. And about 2 million immigrants a year is about right. At the moment, we're bringing in about 1 million legal immigrants, more than all the other nations in the world, and about 500,000 to 1 million illegal immigrants, with around 8 to 12 people living kind of in the shadows today. So maybe 2 million a year and an 80-20 mix. But those numbers aren't exact. They would change as circumstances change, and they would change as needs change, as the world's change. But at least we'd be making the policy, not the people coming across the border. And with this in place, those 5 points in place, and I think you're going to agree that they're easy to understand and highly implementable and fair. With this in place, no one who came here would have to take the legal and physical risk of sneaking across the border. No one who came here would have to hide. They could walk tall and be proud to be here. And we could walk tall and be proud to have them. And it all comes down to having a secure border. We all have the personal responsibility of knowing what the real issues are behind all of these controversial issues, including immigration. We have that personal responsibility. We need to know it for ourselves. We need to know it so we can explain it and have intelligent conversations with others. And speaking of personal responsibility, the 2 main tenets of Revolution 2.0 are, number 1, personal responsibility. Take it, teach it. And 2, be your brother's keeper. The answer to the age-old question, am I my brother's keeper, is a ringing, resounding yes. There simply is no other answer. So what are you going to do? Where do you stand? Remember, it doesn't matter where you stand if you're not going to do anything. And you can take positive, effective action today by subscribing and encouraging others to subscribe anywhere you enjoy podcasts, and get on YouTube. It's new, it's fun. Subscribe and encourage others to subscribe with you. This is Will Luden. We'll talk again next time.
You've been listening to Revolution 2.0. If you've enjoyed this stimulating, passionate, and relentless reasoning, we encourage you to get out there and do something. You can follow Will Luden and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcasting platforms and on YouTube at revolution2-0.org.